Hey ENTPs, in today's video we're talking about the power of abstraction and the limitations of abstraction. ENTPs are incredibly talented when it comes to learning how to abstract and relativize a situation, which means as an ENTP, when somebody asks you what it is that you want out of life, your question tends to be, what do you mean with life? And so abstraction is this wonderful capacity to broaden perspectives, to think bigger, to expand, clarify definitions, and to understand how we think about things. But it can also be a trap, a way to avoid thinking about something you don't want to think about. And so it's very important for you as an ENTP to recognize when and why you do this. When and why do you choose to abstract and for what purpose? Sometimes as an ENTP, it might be the case that you're actually avoiding dealing with certain things that you don't want to deal with. Imagine somebody asks you about what you're feeling and you ask them, what do you mean with a feeling? A lot of the time, ENTP, it can be that you're stuck on something. There's something that you are feeling, something that you have to deal with, something you have to understand, but you're choosing to abstract away from the situation so that you don't have to deal with it, right? Which is fair enough, Nothing says you have to share your feelings with people when they ask you, That's completely fine. But it's very important for you to recognize when and how am I choosing to be devil's advocate? When and why am I choosing to relativize? When and why am I choosing to abstract a situation or discussion? And for what reason, right? Because it might be just that you're running away from something. And that's very important to remember, to recognize, A lot of the time, we have things in ourselves, in our unconscious, things that are bothering us, things that are difficult for us, things that we don't like. And it's very easy, very common in these situations to think about and focus on something else. And so true can abstraction be a way to run away from difficult situations. And what you might want to notice then is there something I keep routinely avoiding to look at? Is there something in the back of my head that's constantly there, that is constantly in my mind that I'm not choosing to deal with or reflect on? Now that you've identified these things, and now that you've started to notice these things, it's very important to think about how it is that you can deal with these things. Because one reason why we avoid these things is because we don't know how to deal with these things. And here's where you might want to use some of your ENTP capacities to your advantage. One is turn it into a game. The game of conquering the secret treasure hidden in your mind. What is that secret treasure, that secret room, that secret level that nobody has discovered? It is there, that is there, right? And what is inside it, right? You can think about it as a game to make it more fun, to make it more interesting, to make it more stimulating. Or second of all, you can use the power of brainstorming and discussions and devil's advocate to your advantage. You can make it an abstract discussion. Say that imagine that I'm feeling something like this. What would you say about that, right? Imagine if it was the case that I was thinking about this. Imagine if this was what I was feeling. Learn to use what ifs and hypotheticals to express things that you might be feeling, that you might be wondering about, that you might be struggling with, that you haven't really defined or know for sure if those are the things that you struggle with. Because if you can do so, you can get more comfortable and more confident in dealing with and addressing these topics in a way that feels safe for you as an ENTP. Abstracting and relativizing are powerful abilities. They allow us to open up discussions that might otherwise become locked or stuck. It might be a way for us to discuss and entertain viewpoints that we otherwise wouldn't have. But, for example, an act as relativizing can be very problematic. Imagine constantly saying, well, it's a matter of grayscales, it's both sides are right, and, we couldn't be too sure, and, everyone has a point, know and recognize when these things can be so annoying, right? I think you, as an ENTP, probably know this really well. It gets really annoying when people are unable to phrase or reach a conclusion with something, when we land in grayscales and relative values of, well, maybe everyone's right, without really defining what that means. Because yes, maybe that's true, maybe everyone is right, but from what perspective and from what specific viewpoint are people right, because not everyone can be right about the same thing at the same time, it's not possible. So there must be a specific context or a situation where people are right and where something else is better, And so what you want to use is the capacity to add nuance, create new words, come up with new ways to entertain and to broaden and diversify thinking, to find specific situations or outcomes or scenarios where something might be a good decision and when it might be a bad decision. Learn to, when people are going into grayscales and relative arguments, find ways to make it more absolute by specifying more concretely when and why is this a case, right? The same goes for abstraction. When abstracting from something, when talking about something from a broader point of view, when specifying, Learn to only do so when it's necessary. Learn to do so when it has the chance to open up a discussion and to discover and talk about something that's perhaps more interesting, or to give people a stronger awareness of the bigger picture. But don't do it if it means running away from a specific argument that you don't want to deal with, that you don't want to think about, that might be important to do more research on. At least that's what I think. What do you think, and how do you experience these things as an ENTP? Let me know in the comments down below, and thank you so much for watching.